How to know if your team is underperforming. Now, a common concern I see from clients and even just close friends, you would be shocked how many people reach out to me and they'll just say like, I don't know if this person like is worth it. I don't know if they're good. I don't how do I tell? How do I know if they actually are paying for themselves, right? They don't know if this is what they should expect or if they have too high of expectations or maybe did they just hire the wrong person, okay? So you might hear people say things like A player, Rockstar employee, dream team. But how do you know if this person is an A or a C level player? Okay. Now, after having team members, employees, contractors for the last 17 years, trust me, I know when somebody is underperforming or not, right? But back in the day, I thought my mediocre employees, I thought like the one who would call in sick all the time, I thought, oh, that's normal, right? People get sick, right? Yeah. And then at some point, I hired my first A player without knowing it, and she was different. And she was all in, and she never called in sick. And when someone else did, she would rearrange her schedule to help me out. Okay. She just did things that others didn't. And I realized I needed more of her. I needed to believe that she wasn't a unicorn, and I needed this to be my new standard. Now, I will say this. At first, I really did believe for a long time she was like the not norm, right? I thought I just got lucky. But then when I hired another person who was like her, right, I realized, okay, there are people out there like it. I just have to find them. I have to attract them. Okay. Now, before you go and you grade somebody a C player on your team, I want to talk about four things you need to do to be asking yourself to get a true assessment. Okay. So if you've ever thought, is this a red flag? Do I need to fire them? Am I to blame? Like, is this my fault here? Right? Am I expecting too much? These are, I should say, these tips coming up are going to help you answer all of these questions. Okay. So, number one, when you're not happy with somebody doing something, I want you to think about crystal clear expectations. So, one of the many frameworks we teach inside of well oiled operations is something called solid foundations. And it's a method that we use to onboard all of our team members, whether they're contractors or employees, and we get them up and running in 90 days. And we hit the ground running like no one I've ever seen. And we set the tone and we set the expectation right from the start. Okay. My question for you is what are you trying to get them to do? And have you shown them? Have you given them a clear system for how it should be done? Or are you expecting them to have this just figured out on their own? Okay. Most positions, or I should say, most positions that we hire, business owners hire, they're not these high level C suite executives who come in knowing exactly what to do. They hire on the lower end, right? Or the average salary when they look up, like, what does this range cost, right? But then they expect the expert. And before I can tell you, is this person a red flag or whatever they did is a red flag, I want you to ask yourself, how clear were you on the expectations? Like I just had somebody, I swear, I'm like, my friends are always giving me like, okay, she did this. What do you think, Stacey? I'm like, okay, so she doesn't know how to send out those emails. Do you have templates? Did you make up the emails or is she supposed to just like know what to say to people? I'm like, oh no, we have templates. I'm like, okay, well, where are the templates? Do they know how to use them? Have you trained them on them? When's the last time you trained her on it? And then you can start to see, like, well, yeah, we did it when she onboarded. I mean, it has been a little while. It's like, yeah, you can't show a new hire 72 things in week one and then be like, she didn't even know where to look for these. Isn't that crazy? I'm like, no, what's crazy is you said it one time with a million other tasks, and you think this is a red flag that they don't know where the templates are. When I say rinse and repeat, like I'm a big believer in mastery and rinsing and repeating. Like we preach this in our well-oiled operations. But I want you to have your team members rinse and repeat as well. Okay? All right. Number 2. Oh, this is big. Honest communication. When you're unhappy with somebody's work, do you tell them? Are they aware? Or do you find another team member, maybe a sister, a friend, or a spouse, and you just vent and complain? It is easier to tell everyone else but them that they aren't meeting your expectations. But that isn't going to help your business. Okay. So we have a phenomenal designer, and we recently redesigned our podcast photo and the cover photo. And I sent him, well, first of all, I should say this. I just said, hey, could you design a podcast cover photo for me? He knows my logos. He does all my stuff. It's beautiful. No problem. I get him back and I'm like, I don't really like that. Any of them. Like, I really didn't like any of them. Okay. So I paused and I said, did I tell him what I wanted? Nope. I literally said, I need a new podcast cover photo. Can you make me one? I am not lying when I say that was my instruction. So then I was like, okay, Stacey, this was number one. You broke number one, clear expectations. There was no expectation. Okay. But now, honest communication. So I said, okay. I'm like, here's the deal. I'm not in love with these, but I didn't give you much feedback or much direction. So let me rewind here. Okay. I'm like, here are 5 cover photos of other people that I really like. I think they're really nice. And here's why I like them. Now, obviously, we're not copying anybody. We want ours to look different. And I think if you looked at my cover photo, you wouldn't think, oh my goodness, she totally stole this from whoever. I don't think you would say that. Okay. Because it is different. But I showed him the style of what I liked. I liked how the body was transparent. And then this was over here and right, all the things. Okay. And then we went from 5 cover photos and I didn't like one of them. Then I gave honest feedback. I set clear expectations and now I liked all of them. When I posted on social, I said, hey, here's our top 4. Which ones are your favorite? I honestly I would have been happy with all 4 of them. They were beautiful. I went with the winner, what you guys chose. So thank you for voting. If you voted, I loved all 4 of them. If you go on our feed somewhere and you scrolled back to probably August-ish, you would see what he did. Okay. So a lot of times people they don't give clear expectations and they're not honest. They're like, I don't like it. Maybe I'll just hire somebody else. It's like, it's okay to say to somebody, I don't love these, but it's totally my fault. It was totally my fault. Okay. These slides you're seeing right now, he designs them. I love his work. I'm like, how could somebody who I love his work come with me with all these not bad, just not my style, podcast cover photos? And I'm like, oh, clear. No expectation, no set, like just no idea, right? Okay. All right. So with that said, this should say number 3, ongoing training. So number 3 is ongoing training. So I kind of brought this up before, right? That one person who's not doing that thing, but you told her one time or you told them one time and you've never told them again. You've got to teach people, right? And train people ongoing. All right. So I am teaching people certain skills. Okay. But I also buy courses and programs and memberships for them. Okay. I believe we all need teachers. Our team is no different. Get them a mentor, get them an expert, like somebody that they can ask questions to. So we have lots of programs where our team participates in. It is also one of the reasons why in Well Oiled, we let you bring in 4 people into our program because we're like, listen, your people, they need mentors too. Let us train them. Okay. So they will go from thinking this person needs to leave when they bring somebody like this in and we start training their people to, oh my goodness, this person's on fire. Okay. The amount of people that kind of whisper to me, like, this is the girl we think we're going to fire when they come into the program. And then they start getting the training and the tools and support. And they're like, Stacey, craziest thing, you're never going to believe it. You know, the girl we were going to fire, she's like blowing up in our business right now. Okay. And I'm always like, I kind of act surprised, but I'm never surprised because no one was telling them what to do before. They didn't have support. They didn't have training. They didn't know what to do, right? Not only that, but when they're around other A players in that environment and they kind of see like, oh, I got to step up, right? Because even your best performer, when they're in a room of all the best performers, they're probably not at the top. So it's like a lot of people step up in the program, okay? So when we lay it out and we have the systems, all of a sudden this team member who we're going to fire, right? They can take it and run with it. It's pretty crazy, but you have to give them ongoing training. Okay, number 4, accountability and follow-up. So this is probably the most important one. Is business owners have such high expectations that they will say something one time and never mention it again and assume the team, like the team member, right? They got it. They did it. No problem, right? Then they remember weeks later, a month later, that they assigned this thing. And then they ask the team member, hey, whatever happened to the thing, right? And they kind of assume, like, once again, this is the team member's fault. But there are a few things that you could be doing to help them hold them accountable, right? Giving them KPIs, giving them 3 to 5 metrics they're tracking on a weekly basis, creating and assigning the tasks together and having them be visible in your project management software. Scheduling weekly meetings with them to review those numbers and to track the progress on tasks. So if I'm, Sarah's working on something and she's reporting to me, I'm not going to say something one time and never speak about it again. I'm going to say, okay, great. Where are we at? Like, so for instance, right now we are crafting our Powerhouse Entrepreneur Awards. Okay. It's for part of our mastermind. I brought it up. We did it last year, but I wanted to make it even better this year. So I brought it up, like, I don't even know, maybe 6 months ago. And then I brought it up 5 months in, right? And then I put it on the quarterly, maybe Q3's initiatives. And now it's on her initiative and I'm checking to be like, where are we at? What's the status? I didn't see it once and then cross my fingers she remembers. Now, Sarah's amazing enough that she would, but even though they are amazing enough to do it on their own, they shouldn't have to, guys. Like, we are the CEOs, we are their leaders. We shouldn't be putting this pressure on them. It's not that hard of stuff of what I'm teaching you right now, okay? Now, I encourage you to look at what you could be doing to help your team excel. If you keep assuming no one is good, you have a lot of turnover, whether you fire or they quit, okay, whether you fire them, there is a sign that something is wrong. I have had people come into the program and they are like turnover machines. Like, they cannot keep employees. But a lot of times they think, well, I fired them, or they quit, but they knew they couldn't keep up with it. So it's not a big deal. I'm like, listen, high turnover is saying something about your market, your leadership, right? You've got to do some digging. You've got to do some digging. Okay. So I don't want you thinking, well, I'm firing them because they're bad and it's not my fault. First of all, you hired them, you attracted them. You maybe gave them 30 days or 90 days of your time. Okay. You have to take ownership here. Okay. So, turnover, whether they quit or you're firing them, this is a sign something's wrong. Something's going on here. And I want you to slow down and I want you to pay attention. Okay. This is exactly what we help businesses with inside, with, I should say, we help businesses with inside of well-oiled operations. Our clients range from 6 figures and 7 figures. And it's never too early to start putting these things in place, right? You might be at 100,000 or maybe even less, and you've already got somebody on your team. This is not something where it's like, oh, I don't need this stuff yet. I don't need to hold her accountable. It's just me and her. Yes. In the beginning, especially, you need to know what's going on, because if you're working with just like a couple people and they don't have a true manager, you're the manager, you got to be careful because things can slip through the cracks. So why writing things down, tracking their progress, having meetings, this is going to massively help what you're doing. Okay. All right. I wanted to gift you today our KPI spreadsheet. So I talked about the 3 to 5 metrics everybody needs. So what I have is a sample KPI spreadsheet of like each department in the business and what one person would have between like 3 to 5 specific KPIs. Now, if you're in well-oiled, and I know a lot of our clients listen to this, or if you're in the Powerhouse Mastermind, you have the full document of every KPI in our business in every position we have. It is inside of the program in your done for you templates. So definitely grab that one. I love when every time a client, it says like KPI underneath the comments, which if you want it, comment below KPI or DM me on Instagram at Stacey Tuschel KPI. It's funny when clients DM me and we, of course, give it to you. However, clients, FYI, you have better, more in-depth templates in the program. There is not one template that you want of our free stuff because yours are like 10x in the program. So just an FYI, I'll still give it to you if you want to see it. But just know like you've got the good stuff. Okay. So DM me KPI or comment below this video, and we're going to send you that sample spreadsheet so you can start to create one yourself for every single position, including yourself on the team. All right. Have a phenomenal rest of your week.